शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं गगना रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदा सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Bhakti Tattva Vivek deliberations on pure devotion. We are on the last chapter of this very important topic, the analysis of the qualification for Bhakti, Bhakti Adhikar. So after Bhaktivinoda Thakur has spoken or discussed and analyzed the intrinsic qualities, Mukhya Lakshan, and the extrinsic characteristics, the Gauna Lakshan or Tatastha Lakshan, the primary and the secondary characteristics of pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, and then devoting the second chapter to entirely on Bhakti Abhas. What is Bhakti Abhas? When the secondary characteristics are not fulfilled, then there is not Shuddha Bhakti, but there is Bhakti Abhas. And this Bhakti Abhas can be Chaya or Pratibim. And within Pratibim, there are the three subcategories, which we discussed quite elaborately. And within Chaya, there is two, which also we have discussed. And after having discussed Bhakti Abhas, now in chapter 3, he discussed what are the natural characteristics of pure devotion, Uttama Bhakti. The 6 characteristics, Kleshagani, Shubhadaha, Moksha Lagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandranand Visheshatma, Shri Krishna. So now in chapter 4, yes, these are the natural attributes of pure devotion. But who is qualified? Who is qualified to practice this Shuddha Bhakti? So that he is going to now deal in the last chapter. And as I was mentioning, it is very important for us to understand this chapter very, very thoroughly. Because once we understand that, oh, this is the adhikar for Uttama Bhakti, then we will strive to get that adhikar. Otherwise, if we are in a conception that we are practicing Uttama Bhakti and we don't know that we are not practicing Uttam Bhakti, then we will never strive for it and we'll never make progress. So in this chapter, he is going to exhaustively analyze what is the qualification for bhakti. Bhakti means here, we should know it is Shuddha Bhakti. Okay. First is the invocation verse. Karma jnana viragadhi cheshtam hitva samantata shraddhavan bhajateyam Shri Chaitanyam aham bhaje. I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya aham bhaje. Aham means I. Bhaje means to worship. Sri Chaitanya, who is always served by faithful devotees. Shraddhavan bhajate yam. Who worships Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Those are Shraddhavan. They worship the faithful devotees who have Shraddha. Just like Bhagavan means who possesses the Shat Aishwarya, and the devotees who possess lot of Shraddha, Shraddhavan they are called, like Dhanavan. Dhanavan means one who possesses wealth, or Gunavan. Gunavan means one who possesses good qualities. So similarly, those who possess a lot of faith, they are always serving, who is always served by faithful devotees. And these Shraddhavan, who are they? Who have completely given up the pursuits of fruitive activity, impersonal knowledge, and dry renunciation. They have completely given up cheshtam hitva, the cheshta for karma, the cheshta for gyan, the cheshta for renunciation. Hitva, they have given up samantata. Samantata means completely. So very, very beautiful invocation verse for this chapter. So any devotees would like to recite this verse? Invocation verse for chapter 4. You all can try. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Karma jnana viragadi cheshtam hitva samantatah Shraddhavan bhajate mam Shri Chaitanyam aham bhaje.
Yeah. Cheshtam. Cheshtitam ne. Cheshtam and Shraddhavan bhajate yam. Aham ne yam. So can you explain the meaning, what it means? With the
I worship Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is
I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where is that line here in this verse?
Sri Chaitanyam aham bhaje.
Yes, okay.
Who is always served by faithful devotees. Shraddha bhajteyam.
Yes, okay.
Who have completely given up the pursuits of fruitive activity, impersonal knowledge, and dry renunciation. Karma jnana viragadi.
So karma is fruitive activity, jnana is impersonal knowledge, viragadi is dry renunciation, and what? Cheshtam. Cheshtam means pursuits or endeavors. Yes. Okay. Hitva means given up. They have given up. And samantata means completely they have given up. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Very nice. Anybody else would like to try? Anyone else? Just you can try to recite this verse. Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Karma jnana viragadi cheshtam hitva samantatah Shraddhavan bhajate yam Shri Chaitanyam aham bhaje.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Translation?
I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Okay. So
who
where is
is
that?
always
Where is that line?
Sri Chaitanya Aham Bhaje is I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who
Yes.
is always served by faithful devotees, that is Shraddhavan Bhajateyam,
Yes.
and who has completely given up the pursuits of fruitive activity, that is Sheshtam Hitva Samantataha, impersonal knowledge, and dry renunciation is Karma Jnana Viraga.
Yeah. So cheshtam hitva samantata, who have completely given up the pursuits. Pursuits means cheshta. Hitva means given up, and samantata means completely. What they have given up completely? Three things: fruitive activity, karma, impersonal knowledge, and dry renunciation. So beautiful invocation verse to be meditated upon. Okay, now Bhaktivinoda Thakur starts this qualification for bhakti. In the first chapter, we discussed the intrinsic nature of unalloyed devotion. In the second chapter, we discussed the intrinsic nature of bhakti abhas, or that which appears to be devotion, but in fact is not. And in the third chapter, we discussed the natural attributes of unalloyed devotion. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving a summary of what all we have discussed, which already I had given. In this chapter, we will discuss the qualification, adhikar, for Shuddha Bhakti. Now, please remember that the adhikar for practicing Shuddha Bhakti has been discussed. Uttama Bhakti. What is adhikar? No one acquires anything without possessing the eligibility for it. This we know in any field, be it material or spiritual. Without having the adhikar, you cannot possess. Without having the adhikar to enter into engineering, you cannot go through an engineering and have an engineering degree. And without enrolling and passing an exam for the post-graduation, you cannot enter and get a postgraduate degree. And without qualifying for a PhD, if you don't have the adhikar of having a graduation and post-graduation, you cannot enter into PhD, nor you can get a PhD doctorate degree. Yes? So everything requires adhikar. So that's the point Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making. This eligibility or qualification is the very foundation of success. Please mark these words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That this qualification, if you qualify yourself for Uttama Bhakti, that is like laying the foundation for your success. Now you strive, after your PUC 2 for 6 months doing coaching and all that, and with all that effort, you write the entrance exam for IIT or whatever it is. And once you have written that exam and you got the entrance, you're into the IIT, it is as good as you have done it. Because once you enter the IIT, the whole environment, the work, culture, the education, the setup will ultimately, almost, I'm not saying 100%, but at least say to a certain degree, will definitely ensure that you will come out of the IIT successful as an IIT graduate and make career in this world. Similarly, this adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, if you understand, once you get that adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, that means you have done, you have attained the prayojan. Of course, you will go through, the sadhana stage and then the siddha stage, but it's laying the foundation for success. That's the point. When a devotee fully understands this, he will no longer remain doubtful concerning his eventual achievement of the ultimate goal. So this is the point I was making, that once you understand that this is the qualification required, and you'll not be doubtful that ultimately I'll attain the sadhya. So your adhikar for sadhana bhakti is clear, and with that adhikar you start your sadhana bhakti, then definitely sadhana will lead to sadhya. But you don't have the adhikar and you are in the name of bhakti practicing bhakti abhas and you think that is uttama bhakti, then you will be always doubtful, why am I not making progress? because you have still not entered in the doorstep to practice Uttama Bhakti. That's why your sadhana has not begun in one stage. And where will be the sadhya? The sadhya will not happen. So eventually you will attain the ultimate goal, and you'll not be doubtful also attaining the goal. Now, please mark this statement, and for us also to evaluate this. Many devotees think, for a long time now, I have been fully surrendered to my Guru. I have accepted the Diksha mantra from him. I have also engaged in hearing and chanting, but still I am not experiencing the desired result. What is the reason for this? How many of us feel like this? Raise your hands. I feel definitely like this. I have nowhere come to surrender actually. After and so many years of hearing chanting, and I'm not experiencing any much results as such. So yes, definitely we will feel like that. What is the reason for this? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to give them. Gradually they become uninterested in their bhajan, and in the end they become totally faithless. So they don't experience the desired result because they have not understood that what is the difference between Bhakti Abhas and Shuddha Bhakti, and what is the adhikar to practice Shuddha Bhakti. They are not striving to qualify themselves to take up to Shuddha Bhakti. Once they qualify themselves to take up to Shuddha Bhakti, then with the sadhana for Shuddha Bhakti practiced, then you will attain the desired result. But you're in Bhakti Abhas and you think you're practicing Shuddha Bhakti and you go on practicing for a long time, results will not come, and you'll start doubting the process. Hey, this process doesn't work. So then your faith and your interest in bhajan will also come down. This is going to happen. So that's why this chapter is very important, as I mentioned. Application for bhakti can easily protect one from such doubts. So if we have sound knowledge about what is the proper adhikar required for practicing Shuddha Bhakti, then all these doubts will be eradicated. It should be carefully noted that the performance of devotional activities such as hearing and chanting and the resultant appearance of symptoms like shedding of tears and trembling should not be accepted as true bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is what I have added here. So if we are performing bhakti and we are doing hearing and chanting, and sometimes we experience some symptoms, it should not be accepted Shuddha Bhakti. What is it then? If we are experiencing these symptoms sometimes, what it can be then? What it can be then? Anyone else also would like to try? Two hands have been raised. Okay, Reena Mataji.
Is it Abhas Bhakti Ratyabhas means?
It is Ratyabhas. Excellent. Very nice. It can be Ratyabhas or Bhakti Abhas also. Hence, in order to take shelter of unalloyed devotion, it is compulsory to analyze the proper qualification for it. So, to take shelter of Shuddha Bhakti, we have to understand what is the adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti. Those who are dedicated to karma or jnana usually perform bhakti as a subsidiary of karma or jnana, and thus they cannot obtain auspicious results. So when we are I was mentioning, just because the subtle body is there, the swabhav is there, and based on the swabhav, we are doing certain actions, swakarma. Maybe we are not doing according to varnashram because we are not situated in the varnashram, but that nature is there, and that nature, based on that nature, we have an inclination to do those activities, and we are doing those activities. So we are practicing Mishra Bhakti, which is called as Bhakti Abhas by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So if in that Bhakti is secondary, Bhakti is subsidiary. So if you are practicing this Bhakti Abhas, then there is karma avaran happening. And because karma avaran is happening, then you are not fitting in the definition of Shuddha Bhakti. So Shuddha Bhakti has these 6 symptoms: Kleshagani, Shubhada, Moksha Lagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandharanand Visheshatma, and Shri Krishna Krishni. So you'll not experience these results. Maybe a faint glimpse you might experience. And you might think, oh, this is devotion. But it is not devotion, it is a semblance of devotion. Therefore, such people don't obtain the auspicious fruit that is expected from the performance of bhajan. So what is the fruit? Krishna Prem. So Krishna Prem will not manifest then. A devotee's Hari Bhajan becomes pure only when he obtains the proper qualification for unalloyed devotion. And when this happens, his bhajan will very quickly bear fruit in the form of bhava. Please mark this statement. What does sadhana bhakti lead to? My question to you all. What does sadhana bhakti lead to? This is there in the definition of sadhana bhakti. If we perform sadhana bhakti, what it should bear fruit as? Or what sadhana bhakti leads to? Anyone else also would like to try? I would like to ask Govinda Truji.
Hare Krishna. Sadhana bhakti will lead us to bhava bhakti. Krite sadhya bhavi sadhya bhava sadhana vidya nitya siddhasya bhavasya.
Prakatyam Riddhi Sadhyata. Excellent. Yes. So sadhana bhakti leads to bhava bhakti. Now, we are all practicing sadhana bhakti, but do we feel that after years of practice of sadhana bhakti also, is it somewhere leading us close to bhava bhakti? Govinda Truji? What is your thoughts on this?
Pardon, bro?
If we think we are practicing sadhana bhakti, then that sadhana bhakti should lead to bhava bhakti. We are somewhere nearing towards bhava bhakti?
No, because our still sadhana bhakti is not on the pure level. There is mixture in that.
Yes, that is the point. That sadhana bhakti means it is shuddha bhakti. Because sadhana bhakti definition also falls within the ambit of uttama bhakti, anya abhilashata shunya. Till then the bhakti is bhakti abhas, it is mishra bhakti. So from bhakti abhas, we should come to the point of sadhana bhakti, which is shuddha bhakti. Then that sadhana bhakti will lead to sadhana bhakti. Now, please remember, it might take an entire lifetime or many years or many lifetimes to come to this point where we begin unalloyed devotion, sadhana bhakti. But once we begin, the process is very, very swift. Because by the time we have worked on the conditioning of the subtle body, and now the conditioning, the effects of the modes are not there, and the impressions are not there in the subtle body. So now you're like sitting in the jet. You're just going to fly high. So the stages like bhajan kriya, anarth nivriti, nishta, ruchi, asakti, bhav, they go very fast till we come to that point. But if we are in an illusion that whatever bhakti we are practicing is Shuddha Bhakti, then we will never strive to take that effort to qualify ourselves to practice Shuddha Bhakti. So that is why it is very, very important. That's why when one bhajan becomes pure and he gets the adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, and when he gets this adhikar, his bhajan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, will very quickly bear fruit in the form of bhava. So somebody might be practicing devotion of hearing and chanting very sincerely. He began by chanting 2 rounds and 4 rounds, then 8 rounds and 16 rounds. And over a period of years, he's been studying Bhagavatam, attending lectures, attending katha, attending yatras, and also taking care of the responsibilities at home. And slowly, he engages more in bhajan. And maybe when he is more retired from all his family duties, he starts now spending more time in the dham or more time at the temple serving and more into reading, hearing, and chanting. So as his bhajan intensifies and he comes to a point where he becomes qualified to take up Shuddha Bhakti, from there his sadhana will quickly bear fruits. So that is the point Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making. Yes, Birendra Yadav Guruji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, just one clarification. This statement, those who are dedicated to karma or jnana usually perform bhakti as a subsidiary of karma or jnana. This Prabhu, it is indicating Gudi Bhut Bhakti, this statement?
Yes, because the gunas are there, the effect of gunas are there on the subtle body conditioning. And because of impelled by the modes or impelled by our own sabhava, we are doing karma. So that bhakti is secondary there. It is subsidiary, secondary. So it can be Guni Bhuta or Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti also. It can be both. It can be both.
Right.
So generally for devotees, it is Pradhani Bhuta. Guni Bhuta will refer to those who are in the Varnashram, who take up the path of karma or who take up the path of Gyan Yoga. From karma, they become, they take up to Nishkam Karma Yoga, become Sthita Pragya, and then take up to Gyan or Ashtanga, and then ultimately attain liberation. So it will refer to them. But those who have taken up to devotion in Mahaprabhu's movement, it definitely refers to that they mainly practice the angas of bhakti, but because of the conditioning, they also have to perform actions because of conditioned nature. So there are again a lot of varieties in it, which we cannot go into now. It requires a separate dedicated seminar to understand all these finer, intricate details. But yes, there is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti. Bhakti which is more mixed with karma, karma mishra bhakti, what we say. Got it? Is it clear?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or clarifications? Okay. For this reason, I have undertaken this analysis of this very important topic. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has discussed an entire topic for the adhikar, so that we become qualified to take up to pure bhakti. And then that sadhana bhakti will ultimately lead us to bhava. Scholars quote the following words from Bhagavad Gita 7.16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritano arjuna arto jigyasur artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. Shri Krishna said, my dear Arjuna, as a result of their accumulation of pious activities, jana sukritina, in innumerable lifetimes, 4 types of people engage in bhajan unto me. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Jana sukritano, the pious people, they are of 4 types. They engage in the bhajan of Krishna. Who are they? Those who are distressed, artho. Those who are inquisitive, jigyasu. Those who desire wealth, artharthi. And those who possess spiritual knowledge, jnani. These 4 kind of virtuous persons are qualified to perform bhajan unto me. So this is a very important verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is now discussing this verse, how these four categories, the suffering, desire for enjoyment, inquisitiveness, jnana, are obstacles on the path of Shuddha Bhakti. How these four are obstacles on the path of Shuddha Bhakti, he is going to discuss. Those who are very anxious to eradicate their distress are called Artha. Those who are inquisitive to understand the absolute truth are called Jigyasu. Those who desire to attain material happiness are called as Artharthi. And those who are realizing spiritual truth at every moment are called Jnani. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur first defines who is Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi and Jnani. So please meditate on this and try to understand it carefully. This is very important for us to understand this verse. Though one may be Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi or Jnani, unless one has some accumulated pious merit, Sukruti, he will not be inclined towards bhajan. Very important point. So there are many people out who are very, very distressed and suffering, but they don't come to God. But there are others who, when they are in distress, they come to God because they are performed some meritorious activities in their past lives. Now, this Sukruti doesn't refer to the Bhakti Unmukha Sukruti. The meritorious activities, knowingly or unknowingly, which are performed in relation to Bhakti. That means you have served a sadhu, you have attended a Harinam Sankirtan, you have tasted Krishna Prasad, knowingly, unknowingly, you did not know that, or you performed a fast, and that fasting day was a Ekadasi. So, they are what? Accumulated. They have accumulated this pious Sukruti. So, many who are, suffering because they don't have accumulated pious merit credits, when they are suffering, so instead of going to the temple to take shelter of God, they will go to the alcohol shop and drink and become more distressed. So that's what Prabhupada explains in one of the lectures. Oh, something there. Just a second, let me. Okay. Srila Jiva Goswami has defined Sukriti as those activities in connection with transcendental personalities that give rise to an intense desire to perform bhakti. So here, Jiva Goswami's definition is that here directly he is mentioning Sukriti as, connection with transcendental personalities that give rise to perform the desire, that give the desire to perform bhajan. Bhajaneshu spruha, it is called sometimes. Bhajaneshu spruha. So here is directly referring to bhakti. So both these understandings are there. Prabhupada gives this understanding also in his lectures, that these are pious people, and these pious people, when they are in distress or they want some wealth, they will go to a sadhu or they will go to the temple of Vishnu. So they will go to these personalities, and they go to these personalities not with the desire to purely perform devotional service, to perform bhakti selflessly, but they will do those activities, but they have a desire. So although they come with these motives, but still, because they have come to a sadhu, they will get the what? Bhakti Sukruti. They will get the Bhakti Sukruti. So that is how it works. There may be doubts concerning the existence of Sukruti in the Arthas, Jigyasus and Arthasis. But in relation to the Gyanis, there is no such doubts. So this is one point with respect to, there are these 4 categories: Artha, Jigyasu, and Artharthi. Whether there are Sukruti, they have Sukruti or no, we don't know. So, but Jnanis definitely have Sukrutis. Now here, Jnani can refer, Jnani specifically refers to here, according to Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Gita. Jiva Goswami not in the Gita, but in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu commentary, that he has Bhagavat Sambandha Gyan. He has knowledge about the Lord's Aishwarya, opulences. Bhagavat Tattva Gyan he has. And he has that Aishwarya Gyan. So he is having knowledge about, he wants to know more about the knowledge of the Lord. But there is a little slight difference, that he is approaching God not to love him, but to know him. That's it. There is a slight difference. So the Jnanis definitely have Sukruti, but there might be doubts about the other 3. That's what he says. That's the point he makes. It is a fact that those who possess spiritual knowledge certainly engage in bhajan after their abundant accumulation of Sukruti. So the Jnanis are already engaged in bhajan. That's why among the 4, Tesham Jnani Nityayukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. In the Gita, Krishna says, among the 4, Tesham Jnani Nityayukta. He is already linked to me. Tesham Jnani Nityayukta. He is already engaged with me. Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate, in devotional service. Special. Priya hi Jnani Atyartham. Atyartham. He is very, very highly dear to me. Aham Sacha Mama Priya. And I am also very dear to him, and he is dear to me. So among the 4, the Chaturvata is here, 7.16. Among the 4, Krishna says Jnani is very dear to me, because he is, among these 4, the Jnani has, come with to know the Lord. These Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Artho, they have come with a specific purpose. They want wealth or become free from distress. And the Jigyasu are somewhere in between the 2. That's why Jigyasu is placed in the middle. Somebody, when is distressed, he goes to the Lord and prays to the Lord, and his distress, mitigates. Then he becomes inquisitive to know more about the Lord. How is that, by worshipping the Lord, my distress has mitigated. So let me more worship the Lord. So the Arthati and the Artha should turn to Jigyasu. That is the point. So that is the point. So among the 4, Jnani has Sukruti and Jnani is engaged in devotion. So that's the point also Bhaktivinoda Thakur is. He is possessing spiritual knowledge and he is engaged in bhajan. Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-20-21. Tatra Gitadi Suktanam Chaturnam Adhikarinam Madhe Yasmin Bhagavata Kripasya Tat Priyasya Va Sa Sheena Tattad Bhava Sa Shuddha Bhaktya Adhikaravan Yathabhya Shaunakadish Cha Dhruva Sa Cha Chatusana. So this is the verse composed about these 4 types which is mentioned in the Gita. Chaturanam Adhikarinam. Among them, when they get Bhagavat Kripa, when they get directly the mercy of the Lord or the mercy of the pure devotees, then they become qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. So till then what they are practicing? Anyone? Till then, these 4 who have approached, they have Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam, they have approached the Lord. Till then they are what type of bhakti they are practicing then? Anyone? Yes, Archana Mataji.
Mishra Bhakti.
Mishra Bhakti, excellent. Which Mishra Bhakti you feel?
Karmavrita.
Karmavrita, excellent. Very nice, very nice, very nice understanding. So the terms used in the Gita by Vishwanath Chakra Thakur is Karma Mishra Bhakti. So the three Artho, Jigyasu and Artharthi are Karma Mishra Bhaktas, and the Jnani is Jnana Mishra Bhakta. Now Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, these two bhaktis are being defined in this 7.16. Now Karma Mishra Bhakti, so the last term is Bhakti is coming. Bhakti is predominant, but there is mission of karma. There is predominance of bhakti. That is why it is called as Karma Mishra Bhakti. Please remember that. And Jnana Mishra Bhakti means bhakti is predominant, but there is mission of Jnana, Aishwarya Jnana of the Lord. So there is Jnana Mishra Bhakti there. Okay. So Karma Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Yes. So let us see. When the four types of persons who are eligible to engage in bhakti are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, these are engaged in bhakti. Please remember that. Chaturvida bhajante mam. They are already bhajante. They are doing bhajan of mine, Krishna is saying. They are eligible to engage in bhakti as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures. Receive the mercy of Bhagwan or his devotees. They become free from their particular motivations that are respectively the desire for relief from distress, the desire to have their inquisitiveness satisfied, the desire to obtain wealth, and the attachment to impersonal knowledge. So here Gyan is taken as impersonal knowledge. I told you some acharyas take it as impersonal knowledge. Atma Gyan. Sridhar Swami takes it as Atma Gyan, whereas Jiva Goswami takes it as, and Ramanacharya take it as Bhagavad Sambandh. Of course, all the acharyas gave a different line of understanding, but all that is in harmony in one sense, but they are different flavors. So here it is, attachment to impersonal knowledge, but I was explaining how it can refer to the Aishwarya Gyan of the Lord. They become rightful candidates for Shuddha Bhakti. From Mishra Bhakti, they become candidates for Shuddha Bhakti. And Rupa Goswami is saying, the examples are what? This is clearly visible from the examples of Gajendra, the sages headed by Shaunak, Dhruva Maharaj, and the four Kumaras. Okay, so there was one question. Yes, Prabhuji? Or maybe we can take the questions once we finish this discussion. Maybe something will get answered. Anything about this four categories?
It was related to Jnanis only. I was just considering whether Jnani we should take for impersonal knowledge or those persons who are having Aishwarya Gyan.
Yeah, see, there are different understandings. As I was mentioning, Sridhar Swami takes it as Atma Gyan. Sridhar Swami takes it as Atma Gyan. And there are particular reasons why he does that, because during his time, Mayavad was very prevalent at that time. So to attract them also to devotion, so he presents from that perspective. See, the acharyas write commentaries based on kala, the time which they are living in also. So that's why he mentions it that like that. And Ramanacharya gives a higher understanding. He says this Gyan refers to Bhagavad Sambandh Gyan, the Aishwarya Gyan of the Lord. Jiva Goswami also says like that. So both these understandings are correct. That's what we should understand.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so they are engaged in bhakti, but they are engaged in Mishra Bhakti when they are becoming free from their motivations. These are the motivations, four motivations. When they become free from them, by how? By receiving mercy of Bhagwan or his devotees, then they also become candidates for Shuddha Bhakti. That's the point here. Okay, now he is going to go into the details for each of them. When Gajendra was seized by the crocodile and was unable to free himself despite innumerable strenuous efforts, he fervently prayed to Bhagwan. Now Gajendra's reason to pray to the Lord was that he should become free from this distress, what he was going through. Okay, remember that. So his prayer was not free from any motivation. There was motivation. He was artha, he was in distress. Then Bhagwan, the savior of distress, appeared and delivered Gajendra by killing the crocodile. By the mercy of Bhagwan, Gajendra's distress was removed and he became qualified for annihilation. So by the mercy of Bhagwan, because he had now Bhagwan Darshan, his distress was gone. And now he felt, oh, I called you to mitigate my distress. And that motivation was exposed. And now that contamination was also taken away from the heart. So now, having had the darshan of Bhagwan, become free from distress now completely, now he got the adhikar for what? He became qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. Saunak and other sages became very fearful upon arrival of Kali Yuga. Understanding the inability of fruitive activity to yield any benefit, they approached the great devotee Suta Goswami and inquired how the people of this age could attain ultimate benefit. So the sages were performing yagya, 1,000-year sacrifice, for the benefit of not their present generation, for the next coming future generations, because they could see in the future how Kali Yuga is going to progress, how horrible is going to be Kali Yuga. So for their shemaya, for their welfare, for their kalyan, they were going to yield any results. So they became inquisitive and they met Suta Goswami there. Just a second. Internet is poor here. Yeah. So they met Suta Goswami, or by the Lord's arrangement, Suta Goswami came there. In his reply, Suta Goswami instructed them on pure devotion. And as a result of receiving his mercy in this way, they attained Shuddha Bhakti. So they were Jigyasu, and they thought this yagya is the way to ultimately attain highest benefit. Ekanta Shraya, that's why they asked him a question, what is Ekanta Shraya? And there are so many scriptures, Bhuri Bhuri Karmani, Shotavyamini Vibhagasha. Kindly tell us the essence of the Shastra by which Yen Atma Suprasiddhi, by the self can be satisfied. So Suta Goswami explains that, Savai Pumsan Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje 1-6 in the Bhagavatam. Ahetuki Apratihata Ye Atma Suprasiddhi. So he gives the definition of Shuddha Bhakti there. So they were Karma Mishra Bhaktas, the Karma Kandis they were, and they attained what? Shuddha Bhakti by the mercy of Suta Goswami. Dhruva Maharaj worshipped Bhagwan motivated by the desire to attain an opulent kingdom. He wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather Brahma. But when Bhagwan appeared before him, by Bhagwan's mercy, his desire for a kingdom vanished and he became qualified for pure bhakti. So he worshipped with a very clear motivation to attain a kingdom greater than Brahma. And then when Lord gave darshan, oh, I was asking for broken pieces of glass, but now I've got a diamond. He realized, and then he thought, he deeply repented and lamented, why did I worship the Lord for some material benediction? So that repentance and lamentation purified his heart, and the Lord's darshan also purified his heart, and he became free from those desires. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam happened now. So he became qualified. So he was a Mishra Bhakta, Karma Mishra Bhakta. He became qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. I hope these points are becoming very clear. Sanak, Sanatana, Sanandana, Sanat, are the four Kumaras. Previously, they were impersonalist, but later on, by the mercy of Bhagwan and his devotees, they completely rejected the conception of impersonalism and attained the qualification for Shuddha Bhakti. So also you should understand that the four Kumaras are the incarnations of the Lord, and this is also a pastime which the core performs, they perform in order to show the superiority of Bhakti against Gyan. So that also we can understand, but it is projected that they were impersonalist and they later on became the devotees of the Lord. So that happened by again the mercy of Bhagavan. Okay, and they became qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. Now, the purport is that as long as all of them harbored desires within their hearts, either for relief from their distress, to satisfy the inquisitiveness, or to obtain wealth, or were attached to impersonal conception of the absolute truth, they were ineligible for unalloyed devotion. So what does this statement, what is a self-reflection you can do based on this statement for us? Anyone? What self-reflection you can do based on this statement? Anyone would like to say something? Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Prabhuji, there shouldn't be any desire when you do bhakti. You should be free from all desires.
Yes. And what are these desires?
Freedom from distress or willing for materialistic gain or
Obtaining wealth.
obtaining wealth or any
Yes, you should be free basically from Bhukti Kami and Mukti Kami. Bhukti and Mukti.
yes.
So as long as these desires are there in our heart, that means we are still not qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. That's the point. So we can also see in our life, especially as sadhakas, not sadhakas who are in the stage of practicing Shuddha Bhakti, pre-sadhakas we can say, I'm just saying. So when there is distress, when we are going through some health crisis, what is our consciousness? Oh Lord, please make me free from this distress. If we are, if we are yearning like that, or we just take it as mercy and continue with our bhajan not affected, that means, still we don't have that desire to become free from the get relief from the distress from the Lord. So even the gross things to become is not so, to become free is not so easy. And what to speak of becoming free from mukti, it's very subtle. Therefore, in relation to qualification for pure bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami has written in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Yaha kenapi ati bhagyena jata shraddhasya sevane na ati sakto na vairagyabhasyam adhikarya aso. One who is not too attached, na ati sakta, or detached from this material world, na vairagya, and by some good fortune, ati bhagyena, develops faith in the service of Krishna's Lord of feet. Jata Shraddhasya Sevana. He is considered to possess the eligibility for unalloyed devotion. Adhikarya Aso. He is having adhikar for unalloyed devotion. Because if he has, if he's too attached, he's attached to, bhukti. And if he's too detached, he's attached to mukti. So the path of bhakti is in between, somewhere in between. The purport is that when worldly people realize the futility of material existence after being afflicted by various types of distress and by suffering in the absence of their desired objects, they begin to lead their lives in a mood of detachment from material world. So this is how the material world is designed, and then Krishna also puts us through some situations where we go through so much distress and suffering that we don't even want to again enjoy those objects, and then we become slowly detached. So it's sometimes necessary. But if by good fortune at such time they acquire the association of Bhagwan's devotees, they inquire from them and come to understand that there is no higher destination than the attainment of Bhagwan. So at this time, when these things happen to us, this will not lead to bhakti. Please remember, at this time, if ati bhagyena yadrichaya, by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and the Lord, a pure devotee enters our life. That is real fortune. When we get Bhagwan's devotees association, and then we inquire, why am I suffering? And then what is my ultimate goal of life? And then when we attend the Bhagavad Gita course, the DYS course, or the 6-day Bhagavad Gita course, then slowly we take up to devotion. Okay, so that's how we begin our devotional life. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, gradually they develop firm faith in this and engage in bhajan. So the development of faith is a long process. We have little faith. With that faith, we are doing some bhajan and we are doing also all our other activities. But the bhakti is bhakti abhas. But when our faith becomes very strong, then our bhajan becomes very intense. And that time when we are shraddhavan, when we attain the qualification of a madhyamadhikari, then we are qualified to take up to Shuddha Bhakti. So that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to mention. At that time, it can be said that they have developed faith in Krishna Bhakti. So there is a development of faith in Krishna Bhakti. This very faith is the root cause of the eligibility for pure devotion, as confirmed by Srila Goswami's explanation found in Bhakti Sandarbha, Anuched 172 of these verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this faith will be the root cause for the, and Jiva Goswami is going to explain this with these two verses. So I will stop here because this explanation needs some time and I don't want to leave it half the way, and we will take it up in the next class. So any questions or any clarifications on this till now? Questions? Yeah, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji, you have a question?
Prabhu, I have two questions. One question from yesterday's class and one from today.
Okay, we'll take one by one.
Prabhu, from today's class, this four categories: Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi, and Jnani. We saw these examples. We see that Artha, Artharthi, and Jnani, in these three categories, Lord was personally present. So their faith, I mean, immediately got, I mean, they got full faith and they become pure devotee. And in case of Jigyasu, it was association of pure devotees.
Mhm.
So my point is, I mean, this association of pure devotees or other categories, I think we cannot fathom only. So how powerful this association of devotees can just.
Yes. First thing we have to understand that all the four categories, yes, there was, Gajendra had association directly of Bhagavan, the four Kumaras again of Bhagavan, and Dhruva Maharaj also had Bhagavan. Plus, please remember, all these four had association satsang of sadhus, of pure devotees. So Gajendra, in that lifetime, there is no mention, but in the previous life, as King Indrajumna, he had association of pure sadhus. Dhruva Maharaj, before he got Bhagavad Kripa, he got mercy of Narad Muni. He had the darshan of Narad Muni and his mercy. And the four Kumaras, in fact, they had a mercy of Narayan because they went to the seventh gate and there the Jai Vijay stopped them and Narayan came out there by them. His mercy, they became purified. But they got the association of his father, Brahma, who told the glories of Narayan and they became so attracted that they wanted to go to Narayan. So they attained the mercy of pure devotees. So the most important point is, Jiva Goswami also makes it clear in the Sandarbhas that without satsang, bhakti cannot, bhakti cannot be generated. So it is the mercy of the pure devotees. And the more we are qualified for pure devotion, we will come in touch with pure devotees. If we are qualified for a lesser adhikar, we will come in touch with that kind of a sadhu only. So many had the fortune to come in association with Srila Prabhupada. And they made very swift advancement, and some were very, very advanced souls from the previous lives also. And some could not make much advancement. Not all of them, we can say that could go to that higher levels. So it all depends. Everyone is in a gradual process of evolution of the consciousness, spiritual consciousness. And as you get adhikar, you will get that kind of sadhu sangha and association. But you should understand that there are different categories of sadhus also. There are different levels in sadhus also. So there are premi bhaktas, there are bhava bhaktas, there are madhyam adhikari sadhus. So we should know all this discrimination, and ultimately whatever association we get within our reach and with the mercy of Krishna, then we'll have to take that sangha. Yes, but as we advance, we will get association based on our adhikar. That is there. Is it clear?
Right. Thank you very much. And Prabhu, yes, second question, Prabhu. Yesterday's class, you were discussing this fourth point. Sudurlabha bhakti is very rare.
Yes.
In that, if you can open the slide, last paragraph. Just wanted to.
Yes, I have opened it. 1 second. Yeah. There are only three slides in this. Which point?
In this too, somewhere it was there that until one develops strong attachment for Rati Tattva, which is the fruit of perception of one's eternal identity.
Yeah. Here it is. Those who engage in bhajan unto the Supreme Lord by executing the ninefold limbs of bhakti are not granted unearned devotion by Bhagavan until they develop strong attachment for activity executed on the platform of ecstatic emotion, bhava, which is the fruit of perception of one's eternal identity. Yeah. What is the...
Rati Tattva, this point seems to be deadlocked, because this bhava will be manifested only in bhava stage. And it is only bestowed by Lord's mercy.
Correct.
Here it is said that until one develops strong attachment, it is referring to asakti stage?
Yes, it is referring to asakti stage. That when one deeply is attached to the Lord, and the point here is that just by our own efforts, From asakti, you cannot go to bhava. The yearning for bhava should be there. And when the devotee, takes complete shelter of the Lord and helplessly cries out for the Lord, ultimately the Lord's mercy will bestow in the form of the Ladini Shakti and the Samvit Shakti potency entering the heart of the sadhaka. And that's how bhava blossoms in the heart. So that happens by the Lord's mercy, but the Lord will see that, he is Maya Sakta Manapartha. He is completely attached to me. So when the Lord sees that, then, he will attain the platform of Bhava Bhakti. Of course, an elaborate discussion is required in this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has just briefly mentioned. For that, you'll have to refer the Nectar of Devotion, verses, plus the Jeev Goswami and Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentaries on that, and Prabhupada's points on that in the Nectar of Devotion summary study. Then things will become more clear. But I think for now it is suffice that one should execute sadhana one-pointed with deep attachment to Krishna, but that itself is not sufficient. Ultimately, it is the mercy of the Lord. But that intense greed to attain that bhav should be there, to attain that mood, the similar mood what the residents of Vrindavan have. That mood, because we are in Raganuga Bhakti, and we want to attain that same mood, tat bhava, we want to attain that mood, and we practice our bhajan following their footsteps, the Ragatmika Bhaktas, and that's why that Bhakti is called as Raganuga. And when we have that intense desire, then we'll attain bhava. That's why that very famous verse is in, what is that verse? Kriyatam krito labbate tatra laulyam ekamulanam janma korotir sukritirna Krishna bhakti bhava rasita Krishna bhakti bhava. What is that beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Krishna mati, Krishna rati bhavita mati kriyatam kuto labhyate tatra laulyam eka mulanam janma kotir suprati na Krishna bhakti bhavita mati. Krishna bhakti bhavita mati kriyatam kuto labhyate tatra laulyam eka mulanam janma kotir sukritir na labhyate. So that bhava should be there to attain it. Yes. Okay, I'll show the verse. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita mati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tatra laulyam api mulanam ekalam janma shoti sukritirna labhyate. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita, absorbed in the mellows of executing devotional service. This is like bhava bhakti only. So this is Prabhupada's translation of International Society for Krishna. Mati, kriyatam, let it be purchased. Yadi kuto, somewhere it is available. And what is that? Tatra laulyam api ekamulanam. And this laulya, we cannot janma kote sukritir. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activities in hundreds and thousands. It can be attained only by one prize, intense greed. So that intense greed to attain that bhava in that Raganuga Bhakta is there, then Krishna will bestow it. But after testing a lot, he will bestow bhava, but over a period of time. It is not that he will not bestow, but he will bestow. Mukti dadati karhechit smana bhakti yukam. He easily grants mukti, but bhakti, bhava bhakti, Krishna will carefully think and then bestow upon. That's the point. Is it clear?
Right. Through this Raganuga Bhakti, it will be at Asakti stage or Nishtha, it starts from?
Well, basically, the Shastras speak about lobh, spiritual greed. When spiritual greed awakens in the heart, then there is greed to attain that particular bhav, what the associates of Krishna have. And now to attain that bhav, you follow in their footsteps and practice devotion. So that's when Raganuga Bhakti begins. Now, at what stage? Well, I'm also not able to say much about it, but usually they stay in the after the crossing the Anarthamri stage, because till then Rajatama Kama Raja Tata Rajastamas Tata Rajastamo Bhava Kama Lobadascheta Cheteter Anavidam. The modes of passion and ignorance are still in the heart. And only when one attains Naishtiki Bhakti, the influences come down. The conditioning is gone. You're self-realized at the stage of Nishta. So the modes, effects are not there. And then, there is spiritual greed then. So because there is no material greed. So in one sense, if you see, when will spiritual greed awaken? When the effects of the modes of passion and ignorance, are completely subsided in the heart. So that also indicates, in one sense, you can say. But Shastra say it is lobh. Lobh is only price we have to pay. When you get that lobh, intense greed. Is it okay?
Right, bro. Right, bro. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Any other clarifications? Okay, so we'll need 2 more classes to finish this adhikar, and it's very important. So we'll go a little slow. Every point we will discuss, and if you have any questions or clarifications, you can always ask. Thank you very much. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Srila Bhakti Tattva Viveka ki jai.